Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spin Rack. I'm here with my boys Pity and Cal. Say what's up, gents.
What's going on?
Yeah, we're ready to rock.
Hey, today we're bringing this whole thing about the Crunchyroll Funimation merger, the fact that the two manga anime companies are merging, and now there'll only be one, and the cost of the service is going to go up to $100 a month.
God damn.
I know, but I mean not a month, sorry, per year. Sorry about that.
Okay, that's
But the,
still fit. But it's not that
still a
much.
lot. I
What
mean,
a
from
jump.
55 to 100 is a lot, but probably what is the biggest thing if you had Funimation is that your digital products that you own off of the Funimation will not be you'll not be able to go to bring it over to Crunchyroll right now. Basically, it is over. Whatever it is that you have on Funimation, that is it. And
So what is Funimation?
Funimation is an anime company. They show shows. There's a bunch of different shows that they had on. I know I've seen several over the years. I can't. Let me see if I could give you some names of some of the
I know
titles.
Crunchyroll has like what the Robotech. Is this the Robotech stuff they have? Is that or was they had something different? I think maybe have it wrong.
I had it up. Let me see if I have it. The top ones are My Hero Academia, Dragon Ball, Attack
Okay.
on Titans.
All right, cool.
So you had some of the top ones out there, but the thing people are upset about is that the whole fact now that you have that it's not going to be honored now by Crunchyroll. And so what does that do with the people who've spent money and spent a lot of money? I've known people who've been buying, and this is not just relevant just to the Crunchyroll Funimation situation, but people I know buy tons of digital products online from movies, games, was supported by different I guess, platforms. And now this is really up to the platforms. If the platforms decide they no longer want to support it, they don't have to. So I just wanted to make people aware. Number one, and number two, I wanted you guys to, what are your thoughts on this? We were talking earlier to Cal. Cal had a very similar story that he wanted to discuss. So Cal, can you pass it down, please?
Well, yeah, DC, or rather Warner Brothers, decided they would do a game called DC Multiverses. So the idea was that you got to play a fighting game, standard fighting game, and you could play as Superman, you could play as Black Adam, but you could also play as Tom and Jerry, you could play as Bugs Bunny, you could play as Scooby. I'm sorry, you could play as Shaggy from Scooby Doo. There's a lot of characters, a lot of fun, very competitive. The same thing. You could play the computer, or you call up your boys. You could, create a team. Play against other teams. So it was a lot of, it was a lot of fun, but it was still in a beta stage. So but you could also, if you wanted to spend the money, and say you wanted to buy like instead of just having regular Shaggy, you had flaming Shaggy, that sort of thing, and give you a different effect, maybe some extra powers, and you would have to spend the money on it. So at one point they just decided, hey, the beta, we got some issues with it, so just we're gonna shut the whole thing down. There's no more gameplay. You can still go into like the training room or something, or you can get on there with your friends, locally, but the actual game itself, it's inert. You can't play it. So if you spent any money on any of these, heightened skins or heightened characters, you're pretty much stuck. So that's one of the things that you want to understand with Crunchyroll is like, hey, if you spent money on anything that needed to be supported by that site to be functional, what do you do now?
Yeah,
So, oh,
that's pretty scary. I mean, but this also comes to the thing. What about what about physical? Petey, what's your take on that? Instead of going digital, going
well,
physical.
I think it sounds to me like it's like say this is Funimation and that sort of thing. Like, well, I guess no. This is it's already merged here. So you're seeing like stuff like Robotech that I mentioned, but this is a big. It sounds like to me like a basic merger, right? If you merge with something, they say we don't need all this other stuff. We take what we want, and we want mainly your site, but we don't want all the stuff that's in here. So it sounds like a basic merger. But when we look at our digital stuff, we don't look at it as we look at that stuff as this is going to be around forever because it's digital, right? So as long as the internet's around, it should be some service, but people have to maintain this. And people go, you have you get a lifetime. I don't think they don't have lifetime subscriptions, but you can get lifetime subscriptions and stuff, and then that site is gone. So that's the hard part because as fans, we think these things are going to be around forever because we have the internet, but we have what was around forever, and that was these books. It's hard to sell for the video games, but like ultimately we're expecting someone else to upkeep, but it's on it's on someone else to kind of keep the servers and that sort of thing and that sort of stuff. But it feels like it's just like a basic merger to say, hey, we just took everything that we liked and we got rid of all the other stuff. Nobody likes this stuff. Like, hey, wait a second, we do like, no, we can't manage the whole thing. We just like the idea of having it. So we taking out the competition and moving over to this thing. So it's a tough thing, but this is the hard part. I found out the hard way because it'd be interviews that I wanted to go to forever on the internet, and then at some point they're gone, and I don't have a resource of that thing, and there's no interest, and so it's a sad thing to hear that your favorite thing that people are going to and you felt, oh, because I mean, I only heard about Crunchyroll when we were at the con, so it was like, oh, we're getting to see this resource, and they were telling us everything that they were going to add, and then now hearing the Funimation, it sounded like they'd be adding more stuff, but now it sounds like they won't be adding that much more. They'll be getting rid of stuff for people, for fans, which is always a tough thing. So maybe they'll change it and put it back later, or someone else will try to pick that stuff up. But
Well,
hopefully, it
it's a
doesn't go totally
consolidation.
away. Hmm?
Sorry, Pete, it's actually a consolidation play, right? Because Sony owned Funimation, and then they decided to take over Crunchyroll, right?
Hmm.
But they've also been consolidating other of the anime distributors around the world. You know, now they're putting into one giant service, I believe. So this is why they're taking it over and running it. So you figure Sony. If you guys all remember, this goes back years ago, where Sony had the Betamax, right? This goes. They had the best technology ever, better than the VHS. Came out before them, and they got beat.
Myself,
Why?
we had it. We had a Betamax. Yeah.
Yeah, so do we. So we're better than the VHS that came after it, but yet Sony didn't have the amount of product available, right? And VHSs did. All the major companies started using it. So this is why Sony went on to the idea that from now on we will never have an issue with software, which is they bought their own studio, Columbia, which became Studio and eventually took over the Spider-Man that we know. We also had that issue with Nintendo when Nintendo, I think they had the what it was, the NES, when they had
Hmm.
that first NES, and then they moved up to the next version, and you couldn't use the old Sony games on the old Nintendo games on the new one. And then Sega came out of nowhere and said, "Hey, you know what? We got the adapter to use your old Sega games on ours." And so it's like the same thing you have all this time. These different medias going through. But to me, it's just wild. It's just you figure Sony of all people will know this stuff that happened, and that you'll try to make these things correct. I think wasn't this issue also with either the PlayStation years ago where you couldn't play the old, or was that the Xbox? I'm not sure. There was some system that had an issue with that also. You know,
Well, so what's the name joke?
I think it was
The
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 PlayStation.
new iPad not fitting the new was it the old charger not fitting into the new iPad. Where you just like, why do these things not work together? Like you're from the same company.
Well, that's a different. That's a rule. The Europeans made that rule. From now on, there should be
It's
one
not a good
charger that
rule.
rules them all. You should be
It's
able to use
not,
that charger for everything.
it's not a good rule. But
So I mean, it's a shame. It's pretty shame. What do you think, Cal?
About what?
No, what we're just talking about. The issue that these people are not going to be able to uh, access their systems. Should we go physical? Is that the solution? What should they?
Well, you can't go physical because there's too much. They're gonna go digital. Okay, they're gonna go digital. I mean, contrary to popular belief, historically we don't go backwards. So once we got CDs, we didn't go back to vinyl. Yeah, people may rediscover vinyl, but we're not going back to vinyl. We're not going back to completely physical stuff. Not when they know that they can store it a lot easier digitally, and maintain it, replicate it, all that other type of stuff. So that's not going to happen. Uh, I guess what you're going to need just to do as a player, you're going to have to have some. I mean, even then it's hard because I've had files. I mean, I had files that I had saved when we still had those 3.5 floppies.
yeah,
I had a ton of stuff on there, a ton of stuff that I wrote, stories and everything of that nature. And one by one, I realized that those things were not good for storage. Lost a whole bunch of stuff. The guy was then advising, "Oh, you just put one thing on each floppy disk. Don't have like five, six, seven, eight different files. Just have one particular file, then one on another one, and then we went from there. And then so now today, most of the stuff I save, I don't even have it. I don't even know where it is at the end of the day. So I understand where those guys are at, where they think they're going to have it, and they don't have to worry about where it's stored because it's there online, like an email or something. But you know, I don't know. We may get to the point in the future. Everybody's got to have their own server.
So yeah, I mean, but this also reminds me to make a point. The PS4 when it came out was not backward compatible to the PS3. I remember we had those games, and so but the PS5 now is. So Sony did learn their lesson in that whole situation.
I
Um,
didn't have that problem because I got a PS3 and I never opened it. I never got around to opening it. And then by the time I was like, all right, let me get to playing this thing, they said, oh, PS4 is coming out. So I just held on, sold that, used the money to buy the PS4. So I was good. I never went through that problem.
yeah, I don't remember having the problem. So I mean, I remember also buying apps, right, on the App Store, and they're like, "Oh, lifetime. If you spend
Yep.
$20, you have unlimited lifetime stuff." And then you're like, "Okay." And then the app either disappeared, or then they started saying, "Oh, now you have to
So
get
it
the
disappeared.
ultimate
Or they started saying,
lifetime."
"Oh, now you have to get the ultimate lifetime."
Yeah. It's well, it's funny. I had something called Wondershare, which they have a subscription service to kind of download YouTube and pull, different stuff like that. And they have a one time for the future price, which is a decent price. It's only like 30 or $40 more than the monthly price. But I had the old one, and they kept trying to give me the subscription, and I had that for like it was a good 5 years. So it was like, even though it was kind of a lifetime thing, when they re-upped and made me buy it again, it's now going to be another 5 year thing. So it's just like, I get it, but the product works. So, which I recommended to a friend. So I get this, the phony thing of like, no money down or stuff you see. Everything has to go. Like the stuff you see in the
Yeah,
stores, that sort of thing where it's just like, everything has to go, and then they're still open the next day. So. Well, it's tough because I'm looking at it and it looks like because I remember going to con and looking at the Crunchyroll and talking about seeing they were saying that the old Robotech stuff would be on the Crunchyroll. And now I immediately looked and I had it up a second ago. The Robotech is on Funimation, so it's like already utilizing the site for their stuff. So
well, Funimation was also in the NYCC con, New York City con. I mean, they're
hmm
one of the biggest. Them, I mean, they have some pretty big um, areas set aside for them, and of course, Crunchyroll. So it's always
yeah, yeah, yeah.
every year. So now that Sony's consolidating, that's just going to be one less company to be there. So I know the people at NYCC are like, oh, who's going to take their spots? Especially after the pandemic, with the reduction in the amount of the media companies being involved. I mean, we had DC hasn't really been holding it down lately. Marvel's still there, of course, but a lot of
DC kind of bailed on their corner of the earth,
yeah,
and
so doing stuff. But
but we no,
honestly,
it can be as dull. It wasn't totally dull, but it can have all these companies not being involved this next year, and just
DC,
like a ticket thing again.
well,
So
Marvel's going to be reduced because remember, Marvel's not having a lot of entries this year. I think the only one is going to be what Deadpool. They stopped a lot of their stuff, and then DC still retrenching. I don't know what's coming out for DC
it's
next year.
2024. They gotta have something for the Fantastic Four. Go for the next year. Like, come on.
So the movie's coming out. The Fantastic Four 2025 is coming out.
But at the same time, you think it's coming out after the con? It's gonna be isn't it middle of the year, something like that?
I'm not sure. I'm just saying.
Hopefully, they can have something to say, hey, we're doing it finally. Have those guys up there telling us they can't say anything as usual, so
Funny. So they're saying in 2024, Joker, October 4th is a Joker. It's a good time for it to come out. And then Superman Legacy comes out in 2025. So that's about it. In October 2025 is Batman. It's supposed to be a Watchmen animated movie 2024. Look, we're digressing from the Funimation.
I'm just
Watch
saying they should be able to
oh
do something.
watch
So
animated film.
Say that again.
They're gonna do an animated film of Watchmen.
That's what they're saying.
What for?
Ooh. Oh God.
On comics, so that's probably why.
No, what for? You already got the highest level treatment you can do with a comic is a live action film. You already did that.
Yeah.
Then you
Yeah.
had the sequel. You had the sequel that was on HBO, which was other live action, which was very well received. And I like the fact that the guy said, "I'm not coming back to do another season." He was like, "I told like no, that's pretty much the story. We're done."
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what's happening. So there's not a lot of comic book movies coming out. Probably TV shows. Amazon still has their Boys, Invincible. Prime has is it Invincible? Yeah, Invincible. So probably those are still hitting the good numbers. So probably they'll be there again. But right now, not seeing much of it.
I'm just saying, they gotta have some big buzz at this con. Because last year, I mean, not to say it wasn't terrible, but I mean, we gotta have some big buzz around there. Have some Marvel stuff at the, you know.
Yeah, it hasn't been. So I mean, what do you expect? I mean, so far things have, if they don't have the product, they don't have the product. And of course, you had the strike.
July.
So the strike that makes sense. But I'm saying, but hopefully there'll be more stuff out there. But if like I said, Disney basically canceled all of their 2024 stuff except for
Oh, because they have their own DC 20, was it DC 25 thing or something like that?
yeah, actually that's going to be in Anaheim in August. So do we want to look into that?
We're going to Anaheim.
You want to go on the road to Anaheim?
No,
You know, they also
That
so
sounds
they
like a yes
also
to me.
you don't need me getting in trouble for saying the other name for Anaheim.
There is no other name for Anaheim.
As there was,
Well, there's not.
it's for where we're going. There's also Clanaheim. They used to call it.
No, I never heard
well
of
then,
that.
well then I guess we're not going.
That happened a long time ago. So whatever happened, that's in the past.
Yeah, all I know is if anything goes down, you'll leave me, so I'm not going.
God.
I don't know about you, but people from Brooklyn keep their hold people's back. All right.
But hey, what's that burning? Looks like a cross. Mars? Mars?
Wow.
Crazy, bro. All right. Hey, let's wrap this up. Any questions? All right.
Hopefully they put all the stuff that's lost back onto Funimation and make it a big, huge thing and get a bigger service so they can have everything so the fans don't miss out.
Are you recommending people buy DVDs? That's the question.
Don't throw out your DVDs unless they got soaked in the flood in the basement. No, actually, you don't have to. You can keep the DVDs. All you have to do is clean those things off. They'll be okay. So,
Cal, what's your take on that?
I don't know. I don't know. It's really going to just depend on the person. Do whatever you feel is going to be best to preserve your stuff.
Hey, you hear it. Spin rack?
Out.
out.
Take the advice. Get what you can do.